Wait.
Good evening, baseball fans. We welcome you to the Rookies Tonight show. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to be joined by our first guest on the show. That's Jim Riley of Ball Cap Sports. How you doing today, Jim?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Yeah, doing good. Thank God. We got a lot to talk about. Trade deadline approaching. We got a lot to talk about. No, Eddie?
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. We got a special guest here, so without further ado, let's get into it and discuss our first topic.
All right, let's start with the trade deadline. We know Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani, we just got a tweet from John Rossi. The teams that are inquiring about him are the two highlight teams being the Orioles and the Diamondbacks. I like both of these teams. The Orioles have been playing with such a fire this season. It's been incredible to see. And the Diamondbacks as well, a young up-and-coming team. I'll throw it over to Eddie and then to Jim after.
Yeah, I think I don't really know. I think the Angels would rather trade him now than let him walk in free agency, because what's the point of letting him walk? But I feel like if the Angels are trying to make a push to maybe sneak in, they would keep him, but I don't think that's going to happen. So a deal may be approaching. D-backs would be nice considering they've been having a recently bad stretch, and the Orioles have taken the AL East by storm, taking first place over the Rays. So it's been a good race between the Orioles and the Rays, but ultimately I think if the Orioles want to go out and try and win a World Series, they need to get Shohei. But there's also some teams trying to sneak in that also need him. So
yeah, Jim.
The Orioles need to. I don't think they need to get Shohei. What they need to do, they need to go out and make a serious attempt at either Jordan Montgomery, Lucas Giolito, Marcus Stroman, one of the top pitchers that we know are available and we know can be had. Because they had a rotation that I've been giving a hard time for months, but they have a couple of guys that can get the job done. Bradish has been getting the job done. But there's an issue. One of the issues is that, and it was brought up in a Ken Rosenthal article today, that a lot of those pitchers are starting to exceed innings that they worked last year. So you're starting to reach new innings levels, and Tyler Wells is one of the guys, and Tyler Wells is starting to struggle. So you have to go out there. This team could win the World Series. The Baltimore Orioles could win the World Series if they had the starting pitching. I think the alternative that Rosenthal threw out there was to just load up on bullpen pieces, go crazy on bullpen. They did that last week with the Fujinami trade with Oakland, and maybe there's another trade or two to load up on. Go make a serious effort for one of the starters, and if you can grab two of them, if you can go get Marcus Stroman and Paul Blackburn, something like that, because, again, you're going to lose probably somebody to an innings limit. I would do that. This Orioles team has a chance. They can do it without Shohei, but they can't do it if they take a cautious approach.
Yeah, the Orioles definitely have the roster to be a World Series team. You brought up starters, and then you brought up bullpen. We saw out today, I believe it was Mark Feinstein that put it out, David Bednar from the Pirates is being put on the trade block, along with Mitch Keller, who's both of those guys have been incredible this season. One as a starter, the other as a back-end bullpen guy. A trade like that for the Orioles might benefit them.
Yeah, Keller might do much, though. Because of the years of control, I believe you have 2 years of control with Keller. Bednar, you have an extra year of control. The Orioles will be fine if they go after rental arms that won't cost them. That's what I think they should do for the bullpen. For the rotation, I love the idea of a Shane Bieber trade back when Shane Bieber was kind of on the block, but that's not going to happen now because Shane Bieber has another year of control. If the Brewers were bad and they put Burns on the block, that would be a great one because you have another year of control. But I think that the O's, Keller, Pirates, that match, thinking about the Orioles and that price to pay, I honestly think the Pirates have floated those two out there just to see what they could get in return. I don't think they really want to either of them.
Yeah.
I definitely see that as an interesting point. I think baseball is better in the postseason if you have the Orioles in there. Eddie, I'm going to throw it over you to real quick. Mets. We know Mets are really looking like a selling team come trade deadline, along with the Yankees. I'll touch on the Yankees in just a minute. I want your opinion on the Mets, what you think they're going to do in the offseason, then we'll throw it over to Jim.
Can I just say one more quick thing about the Orioles?
Yeah, go for it.
When he was talking about Jordan Montgomery, I was thinking how the Cardinals want to be sellers this year, so really attack maybe their pitching staff and their bullpen, because I think that would be an easy team to get some solid guys from.
Yeah.
Now moving on to
Fair.
the Mets, they said that the Mariners, I believe, were interested in Mark Canha. If Justin Verlander wants to waive his trade clause, he'd be decent, although his value is now dropping along with Scherzer. Scherzer might be another good guy to get rid of now while the time is now while he's in their hands. I just don't know where Billy Epler would stand on it now because he hasn't made any recent comments about it. So the Mets are really unpredictable, and you can't tell what they're going to do. But I do believe that either Verlander or Scherzer will be gone by or after the trade deadline because it's not working out. And it's a big contract that they have to take on, but I really don't think it's working for the Mets. So
Kind of feels like there's just some momentum behind a Verlander trade.
mhm.
John Morosi keeps talking about it. They keep bringing up the Giants. They're talking about it again. Morosi in Cooperstown with all the Hall of Fame coverage that they're putting out there. He's talking about with all the Hall of Fame coverage. He's squeezing in Verlander and Giants, and it makes sense because if you're San Francisco, you probably don't want to have to overpay for Stroman or Montgomery, and for Verlander because of the money owed. There's only going to be a handful of teams that would really entertain taking him on. And the Giants are one of them. The Giants have money to spend. They tried to spend it this past offseason and it did not work out. So I could see Verlander. There doesn't seem to be much heat on Scherzer right now. No, there doesn't seem to be any smoke on Scherzer, though he is certainly a possibility to be moved. Verlander just seems like there's something going on there. You've also got, I think Canha probably gets dealt. I bet Canha goes to the Dodgers. I have a feeling the Mets are going to ask for something good in return for Tommy Pham, and the Dodgers balk at that and end up taking Canha. But you'll see Pham on the move, you see Canha on the move. All we have to really know, because you read Billy Epler, and if he's talked about it or not, we really haven't heard a whole lot. All we have is the article from Bob Nightingale over the weekend where he brought up the fact that the Mets know that they are not going to make the postseason. Therefore, all of the players that we've been talking about for the last minute are available.
Yeah, you brought up the Dodgers and potentially who they can be going after. Kike Hernandez from Boston's a name that's gotten brought up. He was with them earlier in his career, and it's a possibility that he goes back there.
It is. I wouldn't do it if I'm the Dodgers. Kike's not been good this year.
He hasn't.
And the Dodgers and that Dodger fan base knows he's a really streaky guy. He can be great. He can look like an everyday player, and then he can look like a guy that's struggling to stay at the big league level. And if you trade for him and you get him at the wrong spot, that could backfire. However, if it doesn't cost anything and it's a good feel reunion, go for it. But I would not trade if I'm the Dodger fan base. If I'm the Dodgers, I would not be trading for expecting this guy's going to light a fire. This guy's going to be that righty bat that we can work into that outfield. And he's going to answer all of our questions. Tommy Pham is that guy. Tommy Pham is that guy. Kike is not.
Yeah, Tommy Pham's been hot this year. It's a weird year for him because usually he's more I don't know how to explain it, but he's been
bad is the word you're looking for. He's been more bad.
Well, Tommy Pham. I'll say this about Tommy Pham. So this year has been kind of an interesting year for him in that he's got an OPS of 8 something here. I can't find it on my screen. 840, 850 OPS, which is good, but he's only got 9 home runs. So we're seeing him get on base, get hits. He's been the dependable bat for the Mets, one of the few dependable bats for the Mets. So, but he has not been great. So he's kind of sort of stuck in that gray area that, again, he's valuable to the Mets. It can be hard to explain why he's valuable to the Mets because there's nothing that really jumps the screen.
Yeah, Tommy Pham's numbers this year are ridiculous. 272 batting average. He has 59 hits, 35 RBIs, 9 home runs, 11 stolen bases, 29 walks, only 53 strikeouts, a 356 on base percentage, 475 slugging, as you mentioned, an 831 OPS.
I got to say one thing, though. You got to trade him now while his value's up because you know that entering August, he is going to drop a lot. And I feel like that's usually what happens with Mets, how they have the chance while the guy's value's up and they don't make the move and then he's terrible. So getting pitching back in return would be huge for him because the Mets bullpen and their starters have been, I guess I could say it, they've been awful. They've just been plain awful. The bullpen is constantly blowing games night in and night out, and the starters are just unreliable. They can't go deep in games with leads, and the bullpen can't hold leads. So they really need pitching badly. And regarding post-game interviews, Scherzer said he didn't want to comment on a trade, but he probably knows that something could be in the works. Like you said, more Verlander, though. Mark Canha, it looked like he was getting a little bit emotional during his last post-game presser in Boston. He knows something's coming. Usually you could feel the vibe in the clubhouse and you know that a trade's brewing. Yeah, but that's my stance on it.
Yeah, I want to transition over to the other team in New York who also is looking for pitching, also looking for some help in the outfield. That's the New York Yankees. Yankees have just swept the Royals, coming off a solid series, but really having a terrible year all around. They definitely need some pitching. Injuries have come up to bite them all around. Cashman. I was in a press conference with Cashman on Friday, and he did address pitching is something that is of need for New York, and they're going to go out there and explore the market. We brought up names like David Bednar in the back end of the bullpen, Mitch Keller to start off, Jordan Montgomery. I don't think he comes back to New York, but he's an option. There's other guys around that I think could possibly intrigue New York, and they also, Cashman definitely addressed that they are looking for an everyday left field bat.
I feel like even though it probably drives Yankee fans crazy to be the bottom of that division right now, it's almost perfect. And here's why. Brian Cashman needs a fire lit to go and do something. And what better way to light a fire than to be at the bottom of the standings? If they were where the Blue Jays are, maybe better, they would probably feel a level of comfort. And they can't right now. They're on the outside looking in when it comes to a playoff spot. So that will motivate Cashman more than it would be if they were in a better spot in the standings, which could lead to a Cody Bellinger trade. It could lead to a Bednar trade. It could lead to a trade for one of those starting pitchers. Whereas if they were 6, 7, 8 games better than they are now, they may not, because they'll say, well, we're going to have Aaron Judge coming back here soon, and he's going to help us. And that's how we're going to count on that. And we'll make a couple of small middle of the road trades, but you can't right now. I think they have to be aggressive because of where they are. So the fact that they've been playing poorly, the fact that they're looking up at a ton of teams almost plays into your hands, Yankee fans. That Cashman will have to be aggressive because this is a World Series or bust team every single year. If they don't make the playoffs, heads could roll.
Yeah, Judge has been great, but he can't fill all the holes that the Yankees have. I think there's a certain amount of address. Or you look at the bottom of the Yankees lineup, even the top of the Yankees lineup right now, their highest batting average is 268, which is unacceptable. Their highest OPS is 730, around there. There's a lot that needs to be done to that lineup. When Judge comes back, no doubt he's going to make a difference. It's not going to fix everything, though. That's the part that the Yankees aren't understanding. You're going to get somewhat of a trade when you get Judge back, but he can't fill every single hole. You bring Judge back, you got to do more on top of that. More on top of that, speaking of, Andy Pettitte joined the Yankees coaching staff as an advisor. I like this move a lot. In my eyes, this was the move I was seeing. They're not going to fire Boone, but they're bringing on Pettitte as someone who, if they were to fire Boone, he would be there. So they're not going to take off Boone, but he's going to be there to kind of be right with Boone and be there to help him out.
That's their way of saying the seat's hot for Boone.
Yeah, what better way than to bring your potential successor and put him on the bench with you or put him in the fold with you? Yeah, the only way that Boone and Cashman go is if the Yankees don't make the playoffs, and I I still think New York makes the playoffs.
Honestly, I think as a Yankee fan,
Mhm.
over the stretch of the past 2 years, I've become more of equipped to a baseball fan rather than focusing on the Yankees, because I focus on this team, and you look at this team as, honestly, if it takes what it takes to get Cashman and Boone out of there this offseason, if it takes them not making the playoffs, that might be something that I know as a Yankee fan, I think I'd be willing to move on to next. I'm not willing to slip in there as a wild card, lose the first round, and stick with Boone and Cashman. I'd rather not make the playoffs and make a whole change to our system.
Yeah, with the Trevino news, someone said apparently Salvador Perez was somehow linked to the Yankees, but I don't know how accurate that is.
Salvador Perez was just named captain in Kansas City. I doubt he's getting moved.
Yeah.
And Cashman also did address that they're pretty much set in the catching position right now with Higashioka and Rortvedt. And I'm pretty sure Trevino is out for the season, but they're set with Rortvedt and Higashioka unless another injury comes, in which case they might call up the guys in the minors. In Boston, we got some more guys over there. Adam Duvall, he is linked to Atlanta. What's your thoughts on that, Jim?
I mean, that's no surprise, right? AA traded for Adam Duvall a couple seasons ago when they brought in Soler and Rosario and Duvall. So that does not surprise me, but I don't think Duvall's going anywhere. I think that there's a chance that they make the playoffs. I don't think he's getting traded.
Yeah, I think he stays. I think he stays where he is right now. I think Atlanta has a great shot at doing stuff there. I'm gonna go through some quick rapid fire stuff here when it comes to player spotlights. We're gonna move on to some more interactive segments in a couple minutes. Bryce Harper played first base on Friday night. He's very athletic over there. No.
Yeah, that diving play. He threw himself into the camera well.
Yeah, he is incredible all around the diamond. Yordan Alvarez. IL returns coming soon, he said. The players of the week were Alex Kirilloff and Austin Riley.
Yeah.
And Sam Frelick, the rookie, has been incredible thus far. The way he started off his career has been incredible.
Yeah. The Frelick debut was awesome. And also Alex Kirilloff, a name you usually don't hear a lot, so I'm kind of glad that he kind of got a spotlight because he's really not all that much talked about.
Yeah, he's definitely a name that comes under the radar along with Minnesota. The what to watch for is coming this week. Subway Series starts tomorrow night. Exciting all around. Both struggling teams coming into the stretch of summer. And you have the Subway Series, Yankees, Mets. You got Verlander on the mound tomorrow for New York. For the Mets, shall I say. It's going to be an exciting series right before the trade deadline.
Yeah, I feel like this is the time for Steve Cohen and Billy Epler to kind of scout what they want in terms of what the Mets need to try and make a push, because it's going to come down to we have 5-6 days left?
Yeah, we're creeping up on it.
Deadline, right? August 1st.
A
yeah.
week.
So this is almost the final countdown for them, and they need to see the holes that the Mets need to fill if they want to really make a push. And obviously they know pitching. Pitching is probably the number one, and pitching is probably the only one, maybe. But with Mark Canha, if he is getting traded, which he probably will be, I don't know who they bring in to fill his spot. Maybe, I think they were experimenting with Mark Vientos in the outfield earlier this season. So I don't know if Vientos would go out there. I'm sure Ronnie Mauricio would maybe try it, but I really don't think he would be that well of an outfielder. So I think Vientos could fill the spot. But then again, trade deadline, so they can go out and get a guy that is not as young and that could fill the hole. Maybe a rental, more of a rental guy, because you have guys in the minor league that could fill that spot. So I think it's good for the Mets to go out and get a rental if Canha does go, which is the odds of that happening are pretty high as of now.
Can I just say what a
yeah, I think going out for a guy, as you said, a rental, having him for a couple months to end off the season here, and then moving on, re-exploring the options come the offseason time.
Almost like a Tyler Naquin type, like they had last year, but the outfield desk. So, because he really,
yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. He was kind of he was so for the Mets, but he did his job and he did what they needed.
I just want to say from a schedule maker's perspective, what a weak ass job both of these Subway Series matchups did not. We have a couple of 2-game sets. I want a 3-game set because I want somebody to come away guaranteed to be the loser from that series. I
I
don't want a split. I don't want a potential split. I want somebody to lose that series so that somebody feels some pain.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's
Mhm.
something I think they consistently keep doing that every year. I think it could be interesting. I
Mhm.
would also appreciate a weekend Subway Series. We didn't get that this year.
Right.
It would be
Yeah.
nice. It would be nice to get.
We could
And
have such better scheduling. I mean, those Yankees and Mets, if they're only going to play 4 games, listen, that's the problem. They only play 4 games, so you got to split them up, 2 and 2. So you can't do the weekend series, but then just have them play whatever you got to do. Have them play 3 times. We gotta.
yeah,
It's gotta be a weekend series. It has to be more than 2 in one shot.
2 years ago, the Yankees played the Mets on 9/11, which is one of the most incredible things baseball did.
That was
And
awesome.
I think that should be something that happens annually. I
Yes.
think the Yankees and the Mets play each other every year. I brought this up last year also. It makes the day so much more special when
Mhm.
you have both New York teams playing against each other rather than the Yankees playing the Rays or the Yankees playing a different team. It's so much more
Right.
special, so
Right.
much more commemorative to the
Not
day if you have both New York teams playing each other.
not to mention the emotions are like through
Yeah.
the roof. And it's a
100%.
time where New York baseball fans can come together and watch a game together, and put the rivalry aside for a little bit until someone wins. Then it's different.
I think that's something that Rob Manfred has to circle on the schedule for next year. The Reds are a team that are coming into this deadline who they're a young team. We brought up the Diamondbacks, we brought up the Orioles with the young teams earlier in the show. And the Reds are a team that's going to be active at the deadline undoubtedly. What are your thoughts, Jim, on how the Reds are going to come approach this deadline?
I don't know. I think they're throwing out smoke signals already, or smoke screens already. Throwing Jonathan India out there today, making him available
Mhm.
in exchange for pitching. I mean, if I am Detroit for Erod, if I am St. Louis, anybody, I'm calling the Cincinnati Reds and saying I want Jonathan India. Yes, I'll do a 1-for-1 swap. The White Sox, I'll do a 1-for-1 swap. I'll give you Giolito for India. Oh, you want Liam Hendricks too? Yeah, I'll throw him in too. That is crazy what they're talking about. But I do think Cincinnati's going to go get pitching. I think they'll probably find their way to a reliever. I think they'll find their way to a starter. I don't know if they end up with any of the big names. Maybe they get one of the guys on that B level, not the A level, because you've got Andrew Abbott's been great. Hunter Green is supposed to be back in August, so they get a pitcher after the deadline without having to trade for one with Hunter Green coming back. I think that they need to grab somebody. Again, I don't know how much they spend because I can't see them, even though they floated Jonathan India today, I can't see them blowing up a key part of the future
Mhm.
for pitching this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the Cannon move, the Mets have also been linked to India. Maybe move McNeil to the outfield, play India at second. That'd be interesting. The Red Sox,
Yeah.
and then the Orioles, because the Orioles are, like you said, they're a team that could win the World Series. They just need the right assets, and adding someone like Jonathan India to that lineup just puts them over the top. I mean, come on.
I'll keep
Yeah.
addressing it. I think when you have the young teams in the playoffs, the Reds, the Diamondbacks, the Orioles, even the Cubs, it makes baseball so much more exciting.
Yes.
Yet alone, it's a new face. Like you have the Reds, who have been a team who hasn't been getting attendance lately. Last year, they had like 2,000 fans there. And it's a team where you get their fan base more engaged. Obviously, every year the Yankees fans will be there. Every year the Mets fans will be there. Every year the Dodgers fans will be there. Start to get these teams involved. Get the Reds involved. Get the Diamondbacks involved. Get the Orioles involved. It's incredible to see. I want to transition to kind of around the horn type of stuff before we let Jim go. Hot takes. I want to start We'll start with you, Jim. Give me a hot take coming into the next week, baseball trade deadline. Anything going on with baseball? You got any hot takes for us?
I'm going to say, if I had to give a hot take, I would go. I want to keep it trade deadline related. There's so many different ways to go with this. I'm going to say that I have a tough time with hot takes because sometimes I don't think it's that hot. I'm going to say Jordan Montgomery does not get traded. It's not really that hot of a take because there's a reason for him not to be traded. I will say that let me go a step further. So of the starters that we've got that are sort of the marquee guys, Montgomery, Giolito, Stroman, Erod, I'm going to say that 2 of them do not get traded, be it that their asking price is too high, be it circumstances like with Stroman. If Stroman gets hurt, you're stuck with his contract for another year. You've got the Cardinals may want to attach a qualifying offer to Jordan Montgomery. So I'll say the names that we're talking about, all these starting pitchers that we are almost certain are going to be traded, I'll say 2 of them. I'll say Jordan Montgomery and I'll say Marcus Stroman somehow are not traded.
All right, Eddie, let's hear yours.
Okay, well, I'm not keeping it trade deadline related, and we're going to talk about the Subway Series. I am saying the Mets sweep the Yankees in the 2-game series.
Stop
and take the
talking.
Subway. No, it would be huge for them though, coming off a series loss against the Red Sox. I think they need that.
It'll be huge for either team.
Could you imagine? I mean, I don't know if Boone will be safe to walk out in the streets of New York after that. If they get swept by this Mets team, I mean, just tear down Yankee Stadium and start over.
Yeah,
it'd be incredible.
That would not be good.
I feel it coming.
Yankees seem to not hit against pitchers that have bad numbers. Talking about Verlander right now, so it seems we'll get we might get rocked a little bit over there. So I'm gonna give my hot take. I have an interesting one. I was going back and forth in my head a little bit about this. I'm gonna stick with this one. It's an interesting one. I have the Angels holding on to Ohtani at the deadline, being full buyers, like going all out, getting some starters, loading up their lineup, and making a push for the playoffs. That's my hot take.
I can see it. I can see them trading for Lance Lynn. That is one of my predictions, is that the Angels will be the team. They will hold on to Ohtani. They will trade for Lance Lynn to add to their rotation and, go out and get another bullpen piece and go out and grab another bat and try.
Yeah. I mean, they're 8 games back as of now. They're in 3rd place, and it's a year that's kind of weird for the AL West because now the Rangers are in 1st. So we could possibly see the Angels making a playoff push. I can go with that.
Jim, one of our favorite segments on the show is a segment we call Dang You've Been Bad. We like exposing the players who've been absolutely terrible. I'll start us off. I'm going to go with somebody who is not a player, actually. I'm going to go with someone on the Yankees coaching staff. I think I have to go with, Aaron Boone. He really hasn't been great for us. I don't know how much you can blame on the manager himself. You don't see what goes on behind the scenes. But Boone hasn't been great. He really has taken a lot of the blame. There's a lot where you can go in this part, who you blame on the Yankees. I say it's partially Boone. Cashman definitely gets a bunch of the blame. Goes all the way up to Hal even. Eddie, I'll throw it over to you, then back to Jim for Dang You've Been Mad this week.
I'm going to go with another guy that really hasn't been talked about how poorly he's been playing. I'm going to go with Jesse Winker. After he was, acquired for the Brewers, you really haven't heard a lot about him, but he's a guy that's a little bit under the radar, probably because he is not good at all this year. He is currently batting 194, has 1 home run, 32 hits in 165 at-bats. He has a 316 OBP, 242 slugging, 559 OPS, and a 57 OPS plus. So if you just take a look at him, he's got some pretty poor numbers. So going with Jesse Winker.
I'm going to go with Teoscar Hernandez of the Seattle Mariners. Teoscar Hernandez, nobody Nobody in Major League Baseball has struck out more than Teoscar Hernandez. Not even Kyle Schwarber, who is trying to strike out more than Teoscar Hernandez. Nobody has struck out more than Teoscar Hernandez. And over the last couple of weeks when they need him, because now you're trying to decide which way your season is going, Teoscar Hernandez is not getting it done. An on-base percentage of 200 over the last 2 weeks. On top of the strikeouts, the lack of power, 1 home run over the last 2 weeks. On the season, Teoscar Hernandez has 16 home runs. The Mariners expected 30 or more when they traded for him, and he's not giving it. He is not giving it to Seattle. And one of the reasons why Seattle is in the position they're in is strikeouts and inconsistency, and that has been the label for Teoscar Hernandez this season.
Let me just put this into perspective real quick. He had a total of 148 in 2021. He was an all-star that year. He played 143 games. He's played 99 games, and he has 129 right now. So, yeah, you're right about that.
He definitely hasn't been great this season. The top, I think he is at the top when it comes to strikeouts. Really hasn't given what the Mariners deserve to get out of him. Yeah, we are running on short time tonight, so we thank you all so much for joining us on the Rookies Tonight Show. That's Eddie Krause and, of course, Jim Riley. Jim, before you got anything to say before you head out?
If you haven't yet, check out the new podcast, the Barreled Up podcast on the Odyssey Network. It is my new pod. Launched it, got it off the ground 2 weeks ago, constantly pumping it full of content. YouTube content is being added to the feed, as well as some exclusives. I have Jason from 161 Ave, and I have Borna from Hogwatch this week. So check out I had Robbie Hyde last week. Check out the Barreled Up podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, we thank you so much for joining us on tonight's show. Jim, thank you so much for making the time and coming on our show tonight. Signing off, Eddie, Hillel, and Jim. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.